Hi and welcome to Mike's V8 Garage. This time I'm finally starting to sort out the suspension on my Lexus GS430. So for those that have already watched my drive and review video of the GS, you'll know that while I'm happy enough with the engine, I can live with the gearbox, one of the main things I wanted to sort out was the handling and the suspension. So I've gone partway towards that already with a set of Tein coilovers, which are currently set to their stiffest setting and actually provide a pretty decent balance of ride comfort and ride quality, which is quite good. However, there's still a lot of waywardness in the suspension. And one of the first things I want to address with that is the body roll, because it's really noticeable. I live in Devon, there's a lot of back roads. Anytime you're cornering, there's a real degree of roll to and from corners, which can be a bit unsettling. And the main reason for that is, firstly, the anti-roll bars on those things were always a little bit weak, and secondly, the roll bars on this car have had over a decade of wear and tear on them. The bushes are shot, and the bars don't look too healthy either. So I'm going to tackle both of those at once and fit these F-Sport, which are fairly beefy, upgraded sway bars. Now these are designed for the GS350. I got them from America, and more on that in a second. But from all my reading that I've done, they should be fine for the GS430 because they basically share the same front and rear bars as best I can tell. The only issue you'd have is if you had one of the GS's that's got the adjustable rate sway bars, at which point this would be probably an issue. Or if you had one of the all-wheel drive models, which luckily in the UK all of ours are rear-wheel drive. Part number for this, in case anyone's interested, is PTR02 TAC 390, and hopefully they should fit fine. As a bit of a side note though, these ones, as I said, I got from America, and thanks to the delights of international couriers, no blame attached to the company that sent them out to me, they got quite battered on in transit, to the point where the ends are quite badly abraded, the powder coating has come off, and they probably will start to rust. Now I'm going to fit them as is just now, just mainly to make sure I like them and that they work correctly and all the rest of it, but at some point they will be coming back off and getting recoated, because I don't want these, having paid a fair amount of money for them, I don't want these to start rusting out. But on that note of money, a really big shout out, and it's long overdue, to SS Lexus parts, so SS TAC Lexus parts on eBay, the US vendor I got these from, because when I got in touch with them and said, you know, these things have been damaged in transit, how do you want to play this? In all fairness, what I was expecting was an offer of money back, say, to cover the cost of recoating them or something similar. That to me would have been an entirely, you know, legitimate compensation and dealing with the issue for something that wasn't ultimately their fault. Instead, they basically said, no problem, we'll give you a full refund, sorry for all the hassle. Now, in terms of customer service, I think the rest of eBay could learn a lesson from that, but I just want to give them a really big shout out, especially if those of you that are watching in the US, really worth it, excellent customer service. I cannot thank them enough for dealing with that in the way they did. So big shout out to them, and certainly if I need any parts I can't get in the UK, they'd be my first stop. So, on to fitting these. It should be fairly simple. It's just a case of undoing the anti-roll bar links on either end, undoing the two clamps for the bars, and then taking off old bar, putting on new bar. And what I do have is new bushes, and also for the rear I've got bushes and U-clamps with bolts. So this should be fairly simple from the bar side of things, although I don't have front U-shackles or bolts, so I'm going to have to be careful with those. The real issue I'm probably going to find though is getting the drop links out, or the anti-roll bar links, because for anyone that's tried to do them before, once they're on there, they're an absolute pain to get undone without resorting to mechanical grinding or something similar. So I'm going to try and get them off intact. If not, it'll be a slight delay when I get new anti-roll bars, anti-roll bar links, but that's not a massive drama, I can cope with that, it should only take a few days. Either way, we'll go right now to fitting, and then we'll see what it's like once I've done that. So at this point the car has been jacked up, both sides, both wheels are off, as you can see, and luckily, as I hoped, it's been pretty simple. So pre-application of lots and lots and lots of penetrating fluid, leave it a while to sit, And then luckily the anti-roll bars in this thing are reasonably beefy. So it's a 19mm nut and a 5mm Allen key. And I already started it, but there we go. That's unwinding nice and easily. That's mainly because these are new links. I only put them on about a year and a half ago. I think if these were much older, I'd probably be getting out the angle grinder. But as it is, even though it's a lock nut, coming off nice and easy. No real issues. And the other side's already been done. Did that as a proof of concept. So once I get this off, there we go. Not too bad inside. So once I get that off, excuse me, once I get that off, push the link through. Might need to raise the bar a bit, but anyway, we'll do that in a second. Then it's just a case of 14mm bolts holding the bracket in place, which again I've started to loosen. Okay, second bolt. There we go. And the front bar is now out. So all in all, that's probably the easiest job I've done on this car so far. There's still some grease on there, I think, so not bad nick. And these bushes, in all fairness, aren't horrible, but you can see the difference in thickness between those two bars there, and obviously that's going to make a heck of a difference. Let's check them on the ground and make sure they do match. Yeah, that looks about right. So now it's just a case of getting a new bar on. So I've got the bar ready to go back on. Bushes are on and greased with the cuts facing forward in the direction of travel. The clamps have been cleaned, greased. The bolts have been cleaned, copper greased, so they're all ready to go back in. So now it's just a case of put the bar in, get these U-clamps secured on the bushes, and then I can get the anti-roll bar links in, and it's pretty much installed. Nice and simple. So here goes. So that's both brackets on. Now I just need to torque them to 49 Newton meters. So the last thing I've got to do is torque up the anti-roll bar links, drop links, and that's 89 Newton meters. Sorry, 84 Newton meters rather. So once that's done, front end on and down, and we're halfway there. And now it's time for the back. So the car's jacked up, doubly so, and chocked at the front because obviously it's on a slope and it's all the stopping stuff happens at the back. But this one's even simpler. It's all 12mm. I'm going to actually take the drop link out from the suspension arm level because it's basically rearward mounted, and to be honest I'd rather get that changed when the bar's off. It just makes it easier access. But it's pretty simple. It's a 12mm nut and bolt, so not a Allen key and socket type setup, and it's just a case of winding that out, and the drop link comes free, and then again it's 12mm bolts on the bushes, bush carrier. And there we go. And now it's just the bush carriers. Okay. Oh. Right, take the bolts out, and hopefully Well, now continuing this video from inside the garage and on my mobile, as both of my GoPros have decided to die within a couple of days of each other, which is a little bit annoying, but anyway. Suffice to say, getting this thing out proved to be an absolute epic, and the main reason being is trying to route it out with the drop links still attached, with the exhaust still in place, and with the rear subframe interrupting in quite a few areas. It proved difficult. And one of the main pains as well is something I didn't realise, is that the rear anti-roll bar bushes are moulded onto the anti-roll bar itself, and these brackets are not designed to come off. So even though they come in two halves, you can't split them because they're glued in place. Which makes clear why I was provided the U-clamps and fresh bolts with the rear bar and not the front, because obviously these you can't swap over. But it made getting this out an absolute epic. However, managed it. It didn't make for good filming. But then when I tried to get the drop links out, now the front ones came out fine. These ones, as you can see, suffered a little bit because I had to use a tool to turn the nuts holding them into place into shrapnel to get the blooming things off. They were not moving with the tools I had. So a new set of links had to be ordered, a bit more time, but they're now in and I'm ready to go and start reassembling everything. Okay, so you can see the new drop links in here, and it's quite a tight fit getting to slide down into the gap in the bottom arm there, but if you just grease up the ends, they do go in. And then what I've used is a narrow screwdriver just to make sure, slide that through, make sure all the holes are lined up. That's all good to go. And then I've got the greased up original bolts from the previous arms, and now that I've got both hands free again, that's one done. Simple case of getting a 12mm bolt through that once you've leveled up the openings, which is actually pretty easy. 12-inch nut in the other end, tighten it up. 18mm bolt, because these are aftermarket, 19mm on the standard nut on the other side, with the usual Allen key to secure it. But that's all buzzed up. The two bolts holding the new U-clamp and bush in place, I've still only snugged up, they're not tightened yet, because I want the bar to be able to move just to get these links in position. So I'll do the other side now, and once both are in, these get tightened up to 39 Newton meters, and then as I said, 89 for the nut on the link, on the anti-roll bar link itself. So once those are done, car back in the ground and let's see how it drives. So all the gears fitted, both front and rear bars are on, a little bit of an epic with the rear, but hey, all done. I've now got a working GoPro. Only one. Both of mine went knackers up within the space of a day, and my lavalier mic, so I'm doing this on internal GoPro sound. So apologies in advance for any bad quality. But mainly to the point, has this all worked and what does it feel like? Well, let's find out. Pull away and slightly sweaty because I don't have the air conditioner on because I'm trying to minimise any background noise. The immediate impression is that the car feels far more planted and stable. It's noticeable even on the straight, whereas before I was having to firm up the shocks to try and give some form of ride stability almost. Now, and I'm in a fairly long sweeping left-hand corner here at about 40 odd miles an hour, and it just feels basically like a normal car again, and the difference is massive. More importantly, as I move on to slightly more windy back country roads now, before where this car would kind of skitter around, hunt around, and generally roll quite badly in every corner, so I never really felt entirely confident in it. Now, the body roll is controlled, it's moving nicely, I can put it where I want in the corners. The best way I can describe it, and I'm a naturally cynical person who doesn't believe hype, but it has completely transformed the car's handling. In combination with a slight tweak of the damper settings, ironically to be slightly softer, it's now resulted in a car that genuinely does handle. Despite being a big old barge, it's now no longer floaty, and that is a big difference. Now, one of the things I was going to do was use an inclinometer speedometer app to measure the roll of this car going around corners and then go around the same corner again, take readings again, all that kind of stuff. In the end, exporting the data proved quite difficult, and to be honest, the change was so dramatic I don't feel I need to quantify it doing it that way. Just trust me when I say the difference between this car now and this car prior to fitting these bars is a complete night and day change. Now, that's not to say it's now a razor sharp sports car, Lotus Elise like hot hatch or anything like that, but my point about the big barge that handles is about bang on. The only thing still outstanding from my perspective is when it hits a bump or when it hits uneven surfaces, you can still feel the chassis flex a little bit. But that's something I'm going to plan to deal with later with a degree of under chassis bracing, top bracing and so on, so I reckon I can engineer that out quite easily. And as an overall point, the car in itself would actually be perfectly decent as it is. I just like pursuing perfection even if I don't get there, and that's why I'm probably going to keep on going with this. But I think a combination of new wheels and tyres, as opposed to the rather poor quality ones that are on there just now, more to come on that later, some decent chassis bracing, and then also potentially looking at renewing the suspension bushes, although I'm not as convinced that's as necessary as I was before with the changes that this has made. I think I can genuinely get this car handling really well. So stay tuned for that, but what I would say is I am now going to move on. I seem to spend about 1.5 years now doing nothing but Lexus engine rebuilds and so on. I want to take a bit of time to just enjoy driving the car, and therefore the next updates you're going to see from me are moving back into the XKR, where I've got similar suspension aims in mind from the other direction, and a little bit of cosmetic upkeep work and maintenance that needs to be done because it's been neglected for a while. So that'll be the updates for the next few videos. But again, if you've liked what you've seen, please like, please share, comment down below, and consider subscribing, because there's going to be plenty more coming on this car once I've got those basic jobs done on the XK. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.